Football made simple. Become great at your craft by finding ways to make it simple for those around you. This is the Coaching 101 podcast hosted by Find a Way Productions with your co-host Daniel Chamberlain and Kenny Simpson. What's up, coaches? This is the Coaching 101 podcast. I'm Daniel Chamberlain. This is another introduction I'm just going to do by myself. We did 3 different episodes, recordings while we were there at the AFCA in Nashville this year. And so I'm just going to knock these out on the side and not try to eat up too much of your time. The best part of these is the live recordings. Just a little warning, it was AFCA, so the sound is a little off. You're going to have some kind of low murmuring in the background and a few people walking by. But, we thought there's nothing like, going to meeting coaches, sitting in person and talking ball. On this episode specifically, we hooked up with Joe Daniel from the Football Coaching Podcast, the other one that I help out with. And we also threw in Coach Adam Harvey out of Texas, co-DC down there. And we just talked some DB development, DB play, kind of things we're looking for to get installed, those fundamentals when we're working with defensive backs. So really hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Coaching 101 podcast. Without further ado, here's the conversation.
Coaching 101 podcast is sponsored by Find a Way Productions. Find a Way Productions also sponsors fbcoachsimpson.com for all your coaching needs, with over 30 coaching materials, books, as well as 50 PowerPoints and videos and smaller materials and the free magazine headsets. Find a Way Productions also sponsors offensivecoordinatoracademy.com, all things offense, and defensivecoordinatoracademy.com, all things defense.
This episode is brought to you by Athletic Speed and Movement. At athleticSpeedMovement.com, we've taken Del Basquet's 45 years of speed and movement training and put it all in one place just for you. You can get the same training that NFL players have been getting for years, collegiate players have been getting for years, and now high schools across the nation are paying thousands of dollars to bring Del in to install his system, but we've got it online for you. It's time to help your team become faster, not just in the 40, not just their sprint speed, but between the tackles and their cuts while they're chasing down the quarterback. It's time for you to help them become faster everywhere. Jump over to athleticSpeedMovement.com. There's an orange button there. Just click it. It says, get the keys to playing faster. You'll get the 3 core movement video from Dell. He's explaining the science behind it, all for just the price of your email. Check it out, athleticSpeedMovement.com. All right, another AFCA episode, Coaching 101 podcast. I'm sure it's weird for you to hear a different podcast name.
Yeah, what the hell's the name of your podcast?
We are doing a little crossover today, so we've got Joe Daniel joining us, and then Coach Adam Harvey as well. You can introduce yourself first.
I'm Joe Daniel. I am the co-host of the Football Coaching Podcast. This is weird. And run Joe Daniel Football.
Awesome. And Coach Harvey?
Yeah, Adam Harvey, down in Texas, San Antonio area. Been coaching for 21 years, had a lot of good experiences, so really appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey man, we're excited. I don't know why I even had the idea to come up and record these. Obviously the audio is going to be wild, but I just figured, man, it's a great place to get good intel, right? Guys that know what's going on, they know what they're doing, hopefully. But luckily we got to vet them a little early. So, man, Coach, we're really excited to have you on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Joe as well. Great to get a crossover done. I've been looking forward to this day since, I guess, April. So it's a good one. So today we're going to talk a little DB development, and we kind of get to look at all sides. I started at a 1A school. I've worked my way up to the big league. Coach Harvey, you talked about some NFL caliber players you got to coach, but you don't have them anymore. So things you've done. And of course, Joe is just like me. He's working with like 30 kids trying to put together a football team. And one of us is getting to coach our son as a DB this year. So I bet that's even.
He was today. He just got named Super Sophomore All-State team. So obviously I did a great job coaching. He's a good ball player.
Awesome. So, Coach Harvey, we'll just start with you, man, and just kind of tell us, when we're looking at developing DBs for coaches that are generally try to talk to coaches that are new to the industry, right, or maybe don't already have a drill book given to them. Just what are some things that you want to get installed, those core foundation things for your DB play?
Yeah, I think obviously it goes without saying, footwork is key. I think any coach would tell you that really at any position, but in the defensive back position for sure, right? Whether you want to do some pure step stuff, whether your back pedal, whether your scooch, whatever the technique is, I think that's key. But then also going to the opposite side of the eyes. Training the eyes is really important for me, through film sessions and teaching them how to study the film and that type of thing. We kind of talked about it as we were leading up to this. Like, I think, honestly, a non-negotiable, Coach Daniel and I were talking about non-negotiables, really go like, it's mindset, right? Like, so what's in the head as well? Like, what's in the head and the heart and all that stuff? You can come up with many cliches, but really, I think, your feet are key. But then also eye discipline, and then having the right mindset about playing the position. You got to have short-term memory. Don't worry about getting beat, because it's going to happen, especially in today's age. So that's really where I start and kind of start the foundation for me.
Coach Daniel?
No, I think you talk about mindset, and I think one of the best lessons that I've given a DB was you see the corners, in an off corner, cover three, and we try to line up at 7 yards, but you see corners all the time that they may start at 7 and then they're pedaling out before the ball snap. They're at 9, and they're just hitch bait. And I'll get those kids and show them on film. You look scared. You look like you're afraid. And if I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm looking at you and I'm saying, you look scared. Stop looking scared. Don't be scared. And if you're scared of getting beat, it's not going to work out. Don't play scared. So I think the mindset of one of the biggest things we look for on the offensive side is for that corner who's getting yelled at for getting beat deep, and he's getting yelled at for not playing the toss. We're going after that kid.
Absolutely.
And from our standpoint, coaching the DB, it's I got to give you that non-negotiable of here's what you do as a DB, and I'm okay with the other things. I don't expect you to do everything and be perfect at it, but don't play scared.
I'd say they hit a couple things. I'd also say like knowing where their help is. I mean, a lot of times confidence comes from knowing where do I have help. So he mentioned I'm cover 3. I hope I have some help in the flats, or if I'm cover 2, I have a safety. And so that it gives them tools for when they're severely outmatched. Kind of knowing where my help is, but once you have that, Joe hit on it, Coach hit on it as well, where you've got to be confident. Because they're going to get beat, you're going to screw up, and when you screw up, it's probably a touchdown. So the way the game of football has gone now is we try not to say things like don't have this. Instead, we try to talk in positives, like ways you can create turnovers and ways you can create plays. Because I think that's the way the DBs go. And I'm not a Cowboy fan, but wasn't the Diggs guy? He got roasted, but he also had like 12 picks last year.
Right.
Everyone thinks he's the best corner in the world because he changed the game 12 times. So I think the years of don't get beat and tackle a guy playing DB, those are gone. Because now can you create a game-changing play? And my son, we already mentioned, plays. He's a sophomore this year, so it was a whole lot of like, let's not do with him to screw it up. When he started figuring out football, he was forcing turnovers, creating picks, causing fumbles, lost the yardage plays. And I think the way football on defense is going, it's got to switch that direction. Where now it's not about yards you give up, it's not about whatever. Did you do something to change the game in a positive?
Yeah. Obviously not a lot of years in the industry, but when I talk to my DBs, I go back to one kid specifically at Stillwell that he was a senior, he never got much coaching, was very raw. And what I needed him to know for that year, I couldn't teach footwork in the amount of time I was there, so I went with the why. Why is this important? Because we were a cover 3, cover 1 team. Well, what I've noticed in cover 3, cover 1 is every kid plays cover 1. Like, nope, I man him up. I know it's cover 3, but as soon as he does anything, I'm latching on, right? And so then he gets beat deep. So I just went back to that why. Why do I need you deep? It's okay to let him throw and catch that hitch a couple times. That OC is going to get very bored in a little bit. He's going to try to hit you the deep ball. So you just got to kind of bide your time. But going back and laying that why out for everything. And unfortunately, I went back and watched film this year, and some of those same guys I coached, they've already gotten out of those good habits. So talk about footwork. Their butts are already to the sideline. If you're a cover 3 corner, why are you looking like cover 2, right? Like, so it's just, unfortunately, it's one of the things you have to hit every year, so we talk about, laying the foundation for a kid. It's fine. You got to go back and hit it again. We didn't really script the second question. So
I go to me, I think, let's go with Coach Harvey about like, are you multiple? You know, are you guys trying to show the same shell and disguise post-snap? Are you disguising pre-snap? We're in different situations. You're in Texas, so you probably have to be multiple. You know, Joe, you're in a smaller school, I think. Daniel, you were in a big and a small school, and I've been in smaller schools where we're going to play wing T 3 times a year. We're going to play one spread team all 10 games.
Right.
So the theory of being multiple or not being multiple, I know that depends on things, but all things being said, you know, what's kind of your theory there? Are you trying to hide things and confuse, and how are you doing that?
Yeah, a little bit of both. You're right. We have to be multiple in Texas because, I mean, we do see some of the triple option, whether it's wing T, slot T, even flex bone a little bit. But one of the things that I want to do is I want to show multiple concepts with the same look, right? And then show a lot of different looks with the same one concept. Just kind of mixing and matching that. As far as coverages, I mean, 0 through 9, we have something, right? A lot of split coverage concepts, you know, depending on week to week what we're seeing. You know, we're gonna primarily be a zone team because a lot of fire zones, stems, and creepers, and that type of thing. So going back to one of the non-negotiables for me as far as on the field play is eye discipline and how important that is, right? So with the multiplicity, I think, and the way you disguise your coverages, you know, I can't wait to watch Washington tomorrow win the national championship because I think Coach Morrell has done a fantastic job with all the ice coverage that he's got, right? He's got to do it because of the pressures, but then you go back and what Michigan did against Alabama, and they're doing the same thing because, I mean, Jesse Minter he was dialing it up in the first half, and so what is the eye discipline like? What are they showing on the back end as far as shell is concerned? And then how can you mix and match those things with split coverage concepts? How can you mix and match those things with different looks pre-snap, and then also same look pre-snap and move around post-snap, right? In short, we're a 2-high shell team, and we're going to scroll post-snap more than anything. But I've toyed with some 1-high, you know, coming back into 2, like your Tampa 2s and that type of thing, when you got people belling, you know, not into a prevent necessarily, but in a long yardage situation. We'll do a lot of that as well. So, you know, I think it's definitely important, really with all offenses, but the spread offenses, especially those that are, you know, IDing every single time what you're doing, which every good quarterback is going to. But a lot of times you can get caught them, you know, getting them look in the box when the roof is the most important thing, you know, in your pressure packages and whatnot. So, yeah, just showing different looks and same concept, but different, you know, concepts with the same look as well.
One of the things that we're able to do, and I'm curious because you definitely see better passing attacks than we see. One of the things that we're able to do in that, you know, confidence aspect is I'm able to look at a team on film and say, look, they throw, you know, opposed to hitch and a fade. If he's got this split, it's either a fade or a hitch. Once he goes through 5 steps, you know, go play the fade. If he's got a wider split, it's I can narrow down for them. You've got to defend 3 routes this week, sometimes 2. When you've got to, are you able to do that? And I guess one of the things is how do you determine, I'm assuming with that big coverage package, week to week you're focusing in on certain parts of it. How much you're able to determine, you know, what you're going to see with a higher level passing attack and then set your game plan up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, like, really formationally, I want 3 coverages to every formation that we're going to see. And so a lot of that will depend on down and distance, hash, you know, that type of thing. If they're working a lot of FIB, you know, I might not have 3 coverages to that particular formation in FIB, but I want to have 3 different looks, if not. So going back to Kenny's question, like, if I can give the same look with different concepts to FIB, great. Well, then I also want to give different looks, the same concept, right? So I think really, like, because of how much is pre-snap ID, you can play with those things quite a bit. You know, Coach Gundy, Oklahoma State, that year in 2017, I had 6 defensive backs in my room that were all, you know, Division I players, 5 Power 5, 1 Group of 5, and he had 2 of those kids signed with him at Oklahoma State. And so he was in the office in December, and I'm picking his brain because he's a quarterback guy. So, Coach, when is it the most difficult for your guys, right? And when we kind of start to make our adjustment. And he made a really good point. He said, listen, that quarterback is not going to look into the butt crack of the center until he's ready to catch the snap. Like, he's not going to do this unless he's ready to catch the snap. So if you can move then, because we were having a little bit of a hard time doing some things post-snap with the speed of the game, people blowing the roof off and whatnot. So that really helped us to start diagnosing those things as well, going back to the high discipline. So, yeah, I think just knowing the situation, knowing what they like to do, if they are lined up in FIB or FSL, what have you, and then showing different looks. Going back to Kenny's question, three coverages per formation would be my short answer, but really just making sure that you're embedding those things in week to week and scaffolding your teaching, right, so that you can do those things.
That's what I want to hit on, the scaffolding, the teaching is, we're very similar. I bet most of us are probably similar even as we run, but so when you scaffold it the way we would do it, and I want to hear how you would do it, is we would teach cover 2 or whatever our base coverage is. We're actually a quarters team. We would teach that first, then we would teach cover 2, then we would teach cover 3 or a roll, and then we would teach, now we're going to get to this coverage from this look. Does that make sense? And so is that kind of what you're talking about, scaffolding?
Yes, for sure. We may align like this, but we know where your help is, right? Correct. Going back to that point, like we may align in a certain look, but post snap, you know exactly where you're supposed to be based on the coverage concept. And so you're going to start with your base, cover 2, cover 4, what have you, and then roll from there. I think really the only thing that's different is how you teach man coverage, right? But everything with your eyes in the backfield should all be primarily the same pre-snap, and then maybe 2 or 3 steps post-snap, and then, now work your movements.
And are you a big, this is again an opinion question here, but are you a big, I'm imagining in Texas, all the passing game you see, you got to be a pattern match, not a spot drop type team. Is that kind of what you're looking at doing, or are you all looking at both?
We are doing both. We may be an anomaly in that, because you're right. I think pattern match probably fits what we see the most, and so we will do that when needed. But I'm not afraid to spot drop either.
Just buzzing out of the flats.
Just buzzing out there, especially with those overhangs. They're not DBs, or sometimes they are. If they are DBs, pattern match it. If they're not, spot them. If I'm worried about a slot fade, then I want the safety covering the slot fade, not some overhang that's not used to it. Whether it's zone or match, it really doesn't. Or, it doesn't matter what the concept is. So yeah, I think a little bit of both. And then what pressures are we carrying as well? If those pressures complement a match better, then let's match it. And then that may also mean, and we're lucky in Texas because now we can sub package it. If we go to a sub package, then it makes it a lot easier.
And last thing I'm going to turn, I know these guys got questions too, but so we are seeing a lot in Arkansas, which I think there's close to Texas, where a lot of, you talk about FIB, so I'm guessing it's into the boundary for those of you who are kind of trying to catch up here with us. We're seeing a whole lot of passing game into the boundary to hide the high school quarterback's arms and run game to the field.
Okay.
So how are you guys, because a lot of times I would traditionally think we're going to put our field corner as our good corner, but we're starting to see a lot of teams, and it goes back to Joe's point, a lot of that's probably going to be matchup dictated.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to move our best guy to where they're going to throw the ball and take away their best route. That being said, in Texas, are you all seeing, or is it you guys have quarterbacks there that they can make that 15-yard out route into the field, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, it's week to week. I think if you're seeing that team that throws to the boundary a lot, like you're talking about, I love trap coverage on those concepts. Because now you can show a lot of different looks with your trap stuff. Maybe one high, you might get yourself, caught with your pants down here and there. But yeah, we're very similar. If we see a lot of quick game, trap is really good for us. We're a press team, primarily going back to what you were saying, Joe. That mindset of, if you start somebody at 7, eventually they're going to be at 9. Well, you're scared. That's a non-negotiable for me. If you can't press, you can't play for me.
Yes.
And so that's just again a mentality when we do call the dogs off, if you will, and back up a little bit. They still want to play with the press mentality. So if we're seeing a lot of FIB throw into the boundary, I might show a catch alignment, but we're still going to trap, play extremely aggressive, especially if it's quick game, and get there right now. I love what you said too, because I think the boundary and corner days I think they're limited. They're not over, but I think you got to be really, really strategic in how you do that anymore. The boundary corner mindset, to me, with the way offenses have gone, I'm not saying it's obsolete, but it's definitely lessened. The importance of it is lessened, right, at our level. Maybe not so much at the Power 5 in the NFL, but at our level for sure.
I'm flip this to you, Joe, because you're the guest, so I get to ask questions to you. So you're at a smaller school, so you may have this real problem, and Adam may too. I'm not trying to say he doesn't, but when I hear he had 5 Division I corners, that's more than I'll ever coach.
I don't think I've coached
life.
5 Division I players in my entire life.
When I hear that, so to me, like the idea of you're probably at some point going to have to hide a DB, maybe 2 DBs. So when you're playing a team that's running spread, and what are you doing to hide those guys or to help them? And that's a better
I
word.
think it's more of to help them, and I think it comes down to the preparation for those kids. I don't think you can truly. I work with a lot of youth coaches, and you can hide a corner in youth because they're not getting the ball out there. But at the varsity, at any varsity level, most teams can threaten that guy, and if they can't threaten him, it's because they run the ball, and they're going to expose him that way. He's not going to. So what we try to do is take that kid, just what everybody's saying. Look, you only got to defend 2 routes. If he's not very good, don't get beat on the fade, don't get beat on the hitch. Get beat on, and play 2 yards inside so that maybe by alignment you can take away the post and or the slant or whatever. Know where your help is at. Give him as much information as you possibly can to stack the deck in his favor. You mentioned pre-snap. I think that if the kid wants to learn, hopefully the kid is that's not a great athlete, is at least smart. Like, give me something to work with. so if he's at least not a great athlete, but he's kind of smart, I think you can give him an advantage that way. But I don't know if there's a way to hide a kid. If you try to hide a kid who just has, I think the biggest mistake that coaches make, and the kid we're going to go after, is the one that's out there trying to play, being coached like he's a stud, but he's not. Because he's out there, he's not put some training wheels on the kid and give him a chance. I think is.
It's interesting to me to see how you answer that, and then how Adam answered that, because how I would have answered that even maybe 3-4 years ago, so not very far back, would have been get them off through it, don't get beat deep, push them off, push them whatever. But the way the game is going now, I think that's actually hurting them. We've got kids, because they're going to throw a screen, he's going to miss a tackle, it's going to be a touchdown.
Exactly.
But if we can get him up and at least make him throw a difficult pass, I think that's and that's the way I think the game has changed. Hearing him talk about press and whatever, I can go back to how many games we played. We had a Division I kid we're going against, and our guy's 9 yards off. You're not beating us deep. Okay, well, you threw a screen, and now we got to tackle you, which that's way harder at times than defending a fade route. So it's good to kind of hear you two weigh in on that. But to me, so that's the next question I want to lead into with both of you. Now you're playing a dude that you have to help on. So now you maybe, whatever level your kids are, he's a level above.
Sure.
So how are you handling, this is the alpha dog receiver, how much are you changing your game plan? How many different coverages are you doing? Are you bringing a box player out to kind of give some help there? What are some adjustments you make in that play?
Pray that he's not a guy like Garrett Wilson. Because when I had all those dudes, we played Garrett Wilson, and he had 10 catches for 160-plus yards. Absolute freak.
But you take that.
You're right.
I'll take that. 160, let's go.
You're right. But I had other dudes on my team, the pride mindset. I think kind of going back to what we were saying, give that quarterback as many looks and cause problems for him, right? Because that dude, that receiver that we're trying to cover, still has to have somebody toss it to him. Now, if he's a stud, pray and hope everything works out. We have removed a backer, especially like to the boundary, gone into a 3-high set. We've done that before, so it's just a typical bracket, to that side, have a built-in poacher, right? He can flat foot read, run the alleys, and then 3/2 to the other side. If it's a 3-by-1, we would try to get that 4/3 as much as we could with, obviously the corner, the overhang there, and then both safeties, kind of in a box look. We've also done some cover 9 stuff, so some week 3, where, we can bail a corner right now, scream a safety down into the slant area, and then if we play some type of match with that, we personally call it ice. We would just invert the corner and the safety to that side, and the safety is now going to match the dude, right? So it kind of keeps the same mindset. You got somebody in the quick passing lanes in a hurry if need be. It's hard to RPO that, and so we take that conflict player completely out of the picture pre-snap. So we've done some of that as well. You know, I think I still want to go back to what I do day one. Get in that dude's face, require him to get off of the press, right? Teach your dudes really disciplined way to press people. Be patient. We talk about never cross the river, but once he crosses into your world, own him, right? Mindset, own him. And so really force him to have to get off of a good press, you know, and that goes back to teaching and coaching. And hopefully I taught it well enough to where our kids are, number one, confident enough. They're not the guy that was overconfident like you were talking about earlier, but confident enough to say, you know what, this ain't gonna be easy on you. We know you're a dude. I got a safety, where's my help? I got a safety back there. I'm about to make your life miserable as soon as you cross the line of scrimmage, you know.
I actually really love that you guys are so press mindset, because I live in a world where like coaches are afraid to let kids press, and now they've been teaching them that through middle school and junior high ball, and they get to the varsity level and they're literally telling me, Coach, I can't press. Yes, you can. I coach some guys this year that are absolutely D1 talent. They're very raw, right? And they had a mentality, and from what I understand, maybe the varsity coach was telling them, we don't press because we're afraid you're going to get beat deep. So it's like a whole mindset that just needs to be carved out of the football world, in my opinion. If that's one thing I get rid of, it'd be that.
Well,
let those kids go play ball.
Absolutely.
And stop telling them what they can't do and help them. Like exactly like you said, where's their help?
You got it. So I don't know what the updated numbers are. This is about 4 years ago. 12% completion percentage on those balls that are rainbows, right?
Fake balls, yeah, it's under 20, yeah, well under 20.
And so going back to your point, the quick game, whether it's a screen or something out in the flat with a dude, like you're asking, right, or whatever, I mean, what's the percentage of the missed tackles? You mentioned it, Kenny, right? Like, that may be an 88% or 80%, right? And so I want to cause as much problem as possible early and quick, because that's an easier high percentage throw. Make them go deep. And if they beat you, hats off, you're great. We'll be there again next time, and hopefully we'll knock it away, you know, that type of mindset. But I think it's really important for us to dictate to them rather than the vice versa, because when we start to play in the reaction world, that's where you can get yourself in trouble defensively.
That
It's the same question you get a dude. How you stopping them?
Well, you know, we probably almost 10 years ago, Coach Mountjoy got on me. You know, we got our offense from Bill Mountjoy, and then he was really big on, you need to run press cover one. Well, we were not a high talent school, and we kind of agreed that in 7-on-7 we would try. We would go up and press, and we were all of that mindset of we can't press because we don't have the athletes. And we started installing press cover one in 7-on-7, and I think we won like 20 straight 7-on-7 games when we started doing it. And what happened was what you're talking about. The way that we taught when we be patient. I don't teach hands until you get the feet right. So we teach press coverage. I see other guys teaching press coverage, the lunge. That's how you get beat. We play with the feet. It's more like coaching offensive line than it is coaching, you know, anything else. And we're getting those guys with a good press. And maybe different for you guys. Not many high school receivers know how to get off of a good press coverage. So then when you got the dude, you press him and you give him help behind him, and now he's got two things to deal with. He can't beat us over the top, and I can be more aggressive in my press and you know, make that release difficult for him. So if it's, you know, we played a kid who's probably the best athlete in the state of Virginia 2 years ago. We did two things because we had nobody to cover. Thank God they didn't figure out until the fourth quarter. They should have just put him at quarterback and snapped the ball to him. He had tendencies, very strong tendencies. And so when he was the number one, we'd press him and put somebody over top. When he was at the number 3, it was a bubble screen. So we walked the backer out. Give the guys as much help as we possibly can with game planning and with preparation. And then physically, you know, we could get in his face and we get over top. I love the press mentality, and I've almost given up on it to an extent until one of my coaches has completely bought into everything else. I used to start day one saying, you need to try to press. you can press really well with average kids, and they're going to play at an above average level because nobody else knows how to do it. And I've almost gotten to the point where I don't talk about that up front until I know that they trust everything else. And then it's like, go try this. I mean,
You gotta have that buy-in.
you got to get them bought in. We had a kid who was a not very good JV corner the year before. His junior year, we start pressing. His senior year, he got a Division I scholarship because he was a press corner. They asked for film of him tackling. I don't have that. His back is turned. He went 6 games and we threw a ball at him. Thank God, because if they had caught it, they were going because he couldn't get him to the ground. But when you teach a kid to press, they really, it'll go completely opposite once they get good at it. And then you have to teach them to not press something.
Yep, that's right.
Hey, you don't always throw the fastball because they get uncomfortable playing off. They lose that control.
Yeah, that control, it's that timing, right? The same thing we want to take away from the offense, we've gained. Yeah, how do I handle when that dude's staring me in the eyes, running at me?
Absolutely.
I want to ask you a question because you do a lot of disguise. I don't want to overtake your show, but I'm about to. You do a lot of disguise. One of the scariest things for coaches installing disguise is trusting that kid is disguising and is not just misaligned and running the wrong coverage.
Yeah.
So how do you how do you teach the disguise? How do you call the disguise? Do you have control of that? Because I know one of the things that TCU did was Gary Patterson said just look like what it's not. That was how they disguised. That was how they taught disguise. Was just, hey, we're running, quarters, but line up like it's cover 2 and then move late. And that was his whole teaching. I can't live that way because I'm looking at that sophomore and I'm going, he doesn't know the coverage.
He's the expert, so I'm gonna let him go, but I'm gonna tell you the dumb version that we do first. Then I'll let him go. So here's what we do. When we call any kind of roll coverage, we literally call the kid's name who is rolling. So we're usually rolling to a cover 3 or a poach or whatever you want to call it. And we say, Braden, that's my son, Braden roll, Clifton roll, Michael roll, whatever the kid's name is, so that they actually know who it is. Which I think that's very vanilla and sounds elementary. We don't have busts, and now I can get to cover 3 or a poach with all 4 DBs. So now I'll pass it to you because I'm sure you get a probably better way than that.
No, shoot, simple is good, man. We have a hash rule. So that whole disguise piece, like if we're in a 2-high shell, we have dudes on the hash, right? So you either on the hash, outside 2, or inside 2. So just to keep it simple, we say, hey, what's your alignment? And he's got to be able to tell me, I'm outside 2, I'm inside 2. And typically, we don't always say, hey, align outside if we're rolling to a cloud cover 3 and you got to get to the top of the numbers. That's going to give it away eventually. But fluctuate your alignment, but know that you can never be outside or inside 2 yards from the hash. We play with NCAA hashes in Texas too, so that changes things. It does, yeah, it makes it a lot easier. So that helps us with, being able, whether we're in poach or, just true roll, that type of thing. As far as our calls and disguises with that, we'll just have tags. So we'll tag it to the front side for cover 3, to the back side if it's cover 9. Our split coverage concepts, we have one-word calls. Like if we want to go quarter has, we have a color usually with our split coverage concept. So we have blue, red, green, those types of things. So we try to keep it simple with the vernacular, but you can never align inside or outside that hash. Even showing 1 high, you should be inside the hash, but 2 yards. And, because most balls played on a hash, right? Very rarely do you see the ball in the middle of the field more than one play. I don't know that it ever happens. Maybe more than once. So just hang out on those hashes, 2-yard rule, maybe a 3-yard rule if you got a lot of range. But they better be able to tell me why they align there, right? Why we're showing disguise. So that, I don't know, that's kind of what we've gone with.
The question last one I got for these two, and Daniel, you made more of a scheme one, but this is more of a fun one for me, is your favorite DB. So this guy you watched growing up, coming up. My brother wanted me to do, Rashad Mendenhall started the black team and the white team. I don't want to get into that. I was going to make you name a white corner if you could name one good one. I don't know if we could. So instead of that, we're going to say your favorite DB you've ever watched play. Could be NFL, could be college, or somebody that people will know. So whoever wants to go first, if you kind of have that guy.
I mean, growing up, it was was Ronnie Lott, and it was just looking back on it, I'm like, how? And I know he played safety at points in his career, but like that guy was a corner. Like corner was different back then because that dude was like the toughest dude on the field. And I just the mentality and as good as he was, it was a just go to work every day type of mentality.
Yep.
Got cut off his pinky to play a game.
I cut off his that was I wasn't gonna say it, but that's the thing.
Yeah,
that's
enough said, right?
Yeah, that's all that matters.
I got two, so I'm gonna go two. I hope I'm not stealing either one.
Oh,
of
you're
yours.
good.
I'm gonna go. New one would be Ed Reed. I think best safety's ever played the game. Talk about game-changing plays, and that guy was the smartest player I've ever seen play. And hearing him interviewed, just crazy intelligent. So that, on top of great athletic ability, was a lot of fun to watch. And I'm going to go old school here with the Steelers. Rod Woodson, back in the 90s, played safety and corner, one of the first hybrid guys. He played corner until he got old, and then he went to safety because he couldn't move as well, and still was an all-pro. Those were my two guys I remember watching growing up and going, these guys are just different than everybody else.
I'm going to take your challenge with the white guy.
Oh, there we go.
Chuck Cecil. You guys know Chuck Cecil?
That was the name I was trying to think of earlier.
He's coaching at Arizona now, and it's awesome, man. I got a chance to meet Coach Cecil last spring. He was recruiting our kids, and he comes in, and he is exactly like I remember him on the field. I mean, 1,000 miles an hour, high-energy guy. That dude would knock you out, man. Like, he was on the Sports Illustrated cover with it, I think, can't remember the headline, something to the effect of, this is the most feared man in the NFL. Just tough, hard-nosed dude, right? The other guy that I got to go with, a little off the beaten path, I don't even know if he'll be a Hall of Famer, is Cam Chancellor. Love watching that dude play, man. Cam Chancellor could go, but even when he was at Virginia Tech, but when he got to the Legion of Boom and that whole defense was fun to watch. But I really enjoyed just the way that he approached the game. I felt like he was always above reproach off the field. Good dude. Ronnie Lott, very similar in that way. And then being a Cowboys fan, like, I liked a lot of dudes, but another guy that I felt like played the game the right way was George Teague. I love George Teague. When he about took Terrell Owens' head off at the start, one of my favorite moments in football of all time. So I know I chose three, but I could go on and on. We can talk about that for a while.
How many games into the season would Chuck Cecil make it today?
Zero.
Like first series, be done.
Yep.
That'd be it.
That guy was a go-getter.
All right, Daniel, young guy, what you got?
Yeah, so, we talked about Diggs earlier from down at the Cowboys, and he's one that I like to watch because he has that I'm going to bait you and make you pay mentality, and you're going to hit me sometimes, right? So I really like him. Ed Reed is always my favorite. I think that is just the dude. If you could clone 11 of him, that's the all-time team, maybe on both sides of the ball. I don't know. He's just a freak of nature, so probably Ed Reed's my all-time favorite.
I'd say box safety, I'm going Troy Polamalu, too.
Well,
I think that's another one you talk about. I think they played 10-person defense and just told him just to go do whatever.
I'm pretty sure that he was one of those guys that, like, there was no call for him.
No, there was.
It was the other 10 guys figuring out what he was doing.
Find the football and play, right?
I've gotten more appreciation later for Deion Sanders and the way that he would bait because nobody would throw at him. And so he would have to bait just to get the ball thrown in his direction. And really smart defender.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach, you do social media stuff, that's your role.
Oh, yeah, social media. Coach, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and pick your brain, where could they do that?
Yeah, I'm just on Twitter. I have an Instagram account, but don't play with it. So my Twitter handle is Coach_Harvey 18. Peyton Manning number there, so I'm a defensive guy, but no, I better not say that. I got married on the 18th. That's my anniversary.
There we go.
There we go.
And Joe, where are you at?
I am on Twitter at FootballInfo, INFO, on Instagram at Joe Daniel Football, and on the internet, JoeDanielFootball.com.
Awesome. We'll put ours in at the end. We'll cut them all in later, so no big deal. Guys, thank you so much for sitting down and taking some time to just talk ball with us. Hopefully we'll get you back on it.
Yeah, enjoy it. Thank you.
Awesome.